channel as I speak. Yeah, I got to give it a little bit of time to load onto the channel. It's quite a natural YouTube thing to do. There we are. Audio is working, game audio and party audio is working accordingly. The stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go, so that's absolutely fantastic. Well, hello everyone and welcome to round 7 of the PlayStation Pacific Tier 1 Championship here on Contest of Speed. I'm LaneEveringham, your lead commentator for this evening, and this time we're racing at Suzuka Circuit for the Japanese Grand Prix. The figure of 8 5.81 kilometer 18-turn circuit was created in 1962 thanks to a joint effort between the Honda Motor Company and Dutch architect John Hugenholtz. Thanks to its popularity, Suzuka has turned itself into one of the most well-recognized racetracks from Asia and has been the home of some of the greatest moments in Formula One history. It's a tough, old-fashioned style racetrack. It's narrow, technical, fast and flowing, with grass and gravel traps lining the edges of the circuit. The most noteworthy technical parts of the racetrack are the famous S's formed by turns 2 through 7 in the opening sector, the fast, tight Degner curve at turn 8, spoon curve at turns 13 and 14, and finally the most well-known corner on the circuit, 130R. Auto spin curves are dotted throughout several of these sections, so the margins for error are very, very fine, and as a result, accidents in these sections are quite common to see. Only a single DRS zone on the circuit. It heads down the main straight into turn 1, making it the main overtaking area of the track. But there are other opportunities, such as the hairpin at turn 11, known as Kobayashi Corner, and the final chicane of turn 16 and 17. Now, before we focus on this very important qualifying session, there is a bit of news to go through first from last week's race in Singapore. A few incident reports from Singapore. The first involving Bags Liddell, Sire Luke and Karma AU. The result from that was a 5-second time penalty and 1 penalty point for Luke for causing a avoidable collision. Similar story between Bags Liddell and Tent Sandals in the second incident report. The result was a 5-second time penalty and 1 penalty point for Tent Sandals for a collision at turn 3. And finally, an incident between Karma and ACW, a collision where Karma was forced into the outside wall at turn 8. ACW will receive a 10-second time penalty and 2 penalty points for that incident. Tent Sandals would be the only driver to move position though. He would go from P8 to P11 in the final results. Everyone else stays where they are. In the Drivers' Championship, GeForce Crichton is leading the way on 154 points. P2 is GeForce Ford on 133, so 21 points separating the top two. GeForce Leo is third on 106. He is 27 behind Ford and 48 behind Crichton. He needs a big result here to revive his championship hopes. P4 is Plebs on 81. He is 1 point ahead of Leo's teammate Spicy, who was on 80 points. P6 is Billy on 76, followed by iContrast on 68. Then Bags Liddell on 39, Darren 11 on 38, and GeForce Wogboy on 37 points. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren are leading on 186, followed by Ferrari on 172. So 14 points separating the top two in the Constructors. And not too far behind is Mercedes-AMG on 165 points. So a tight three-way fight at the top of the table. Fourth place is Alpine on 109 points, followed by Red Bull Racing on 88, AlphaTauri on 77, Alfa Romeo on 75, Williams on 55, Haas on 48, and Aston Martin on 21 points. But that's pretty much it in terms of news. We can now focus on qualifying. I can introduce my co-commentator for tonight, who was absent last week, but he's made his return here at Suzuka. GeForce Pato, thank you for being here tonight. You raced here in a lead, a less than ideal race for you, but you showed a lot of promise. So what are your thoughts about this legendary racetrack?
Well, you were talking about all the adjectives about this track. It's also really loved by the drivers because it's a pure race track actually, and it feels like it when you're driving on wheel as well. Like it's a really narrow circuit, heavy braking zones, high speed corners, slow speed corners, the 8 form as well. It's just an amazing track to drive, to be honest. Quite tricky, of course, because nailing a lap over here is really difficult. But it's going to be a really interesting race, I think.
No, absolutely. Now, I haven't had a weather report as of yet, so I've got no idea what the conditions are going to be. But something that is fairly common to see, like we saw in the real-life Grand Prix here, is wet weather. And that turns this track into a total nightmare. Some of the more inconspicuous corners, like 130R, which is taken completely flat out in the dry, turns into a total nightmare in the wet. There's so little traction at high speed that you do have to be a little bit careful as G-Force Crichton jumps to the top with a 28.7, which is to be expected. He does like this circuit, so we've got to keep an eye at the top of the table towards the end of qualifying. It's a very important qualifying as well. As we mentioned, it's narrow. It is really tough to pass here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, surely is. And I'll tell you what, G-Force Ford actually made 28.6, but he got his lap invalidated.
Ooh.
So he's going to get back to the pits. It was potential pole, so he hasn't put a lap already, but we're pretty sure it's got the pace.
Well, he's definitely demonstrated what pace he's had over the course of this season. Just a few things not going his way, but he's been more than a match for G-Force Crichton, who notified me pre-race that he's still unwell. Yeah, this has been quite a few races where he's been unwell, quite a few weeks.
Round 1, mate.
Yeah, so I hope he's doing well, but it hasn't affected his performance too greatly. He's been superb, like he usually has been in previous seasons. Well, he's a 5-time Pacific Tier 1 Series champion. 5 on the trot, mind you. And he's looking to make it 6, even with his less than ideal health condition.
Yeah.
But, as it stands right now, he's sitting at the top of the table with a 28.7. Plebs is making his way around the infamous 130R curve and heading up towards the Casio Triangle. The final chicane on the circuit cut quite a bit there at turn 16. Gets a nice run through turn 17 and through turn 18. He'll cross the line to set at 29.597 and goes P6 on the board. 2.5 tenths behind Ferrari Pro. Now, Roscoe Arms on a flying lap, making his way through the Spoon Curve, turns 13 and 14. It's really important that you get a nice exit out of turn 14 because it's a fairly long straight between here and 130R. And I've just noticed he's not using any battery. He's low on fuel. He's actually on an in-lap, not on a flying lap. Spilly is, though. He's making his way down the main straightaway. We're right on board with the Red Bull driver. Give you a guided tour of the circuit. Into turn 1. Oh, understeer. Tons of understeer there at turn 1. But he gets it round turn 2. Relatively okay. Now into the S's. Turns 3, 4. Up towards turn 5. Then into the long right-hander of turn 6. You have to be patient here. Can't get onto full throttle too soon. And around the famous Dunlop curve. You have to be careful. On the outside curve. Oh, he almost demonstrated why you have to be careful. He demonstrated what happens when you get caught out by that curve. You get off the throttle, you get on the brake. Because if you don't do that, you go into the wall. Gee whiz. That was very close. Speaking of wall, Contrast, I think, went into the wall there at turn 2.
Yeah, on his outlap.
Yeah. Cold tyres, I guess, and just lit it up. That would be my guess. Very strange. Chip here is about to begin a flying lap. Tell you what, we're right on board with the Williams driver. Gets a nice run out of the chicane. Around the final corner and back onto the main straightaway. He'll open DRS and head down towards turn 1. We'll see speeds up and over 320 kilometers an hour. 324 at the entry to turn 1. Nice, clean run through there. Through turn 2, avoiding that inside curb at turn 2. Quite nasty, that inside curve. Through turn 3, into turn 4, then turn 5. Ooh, bit of lag there. Then turn 6. Again, being patient on the accelerator. Then he gets the full throttle through Dunlop curve. Yeah, nice spin there. Then he puts the car into the gravel trap. He wants to get out of the way of drivers who are on flying laps. So nice awareness there from Chip.
Leo is on a really good lap. He's 2 times up in the first sector.
He's making his way up towards Spoon Curve, turns 13 and 14 on the racetrack. Chucks it into the left-handers. 6 here, running wide, but doesn't invalidate. What? You saw how wide he went there.
Yeah.
And doesn't invalidate. How peculiar. And he's up by just under 0.2 of a second. I'm surprised this is a legal lap according to the game.
He didn't gain anything in the second sector though.
Interesting.
He actually lost 2 times.
Well, he crosses the line and jumps up to pole position. 1 minute 28.642. Crichton, meanwhile, making his way through the S section. Up towards turn 7. And he doesn't lose the back end, unlike the previous 2 drivers who I've ridden on board with. Up towards Degner Curve, turn 8. A lot of people tell or say turn 9 is Degner 2. It isn't. Turn 8 is the only Degner Curve. Turn 9 is a no-name corner. Exiting turn 10 into the hairpin of turn 11, named Kobayashi Corner. Gets a nice exit there. And into 200R, turn 12. 7th gear, keeping a nice narrow line, keeping to the right-hand side of the circuit. And up towards the 2 left-handers of Spoon Curve. And look at this. So that's that's a deliberate racing line right there. And somehow you get away with it.
Ford didn't take that line. Because I'm watching his lap and he's doing a really good lap.
He goes P2, misses out on pole position by 16 thousandths of a second. Crichton, meanwhile, is up by 2.5 tenths as he goes into the Casio Triangle, turn 16 and 17. Around the final corner, turn 18, keeping to the right-hand side of the circuit. He'll cross the line and jump up to pole position with a 1 minute 58.498. That's interesting to see, though.
Yeah. I don't know. Let me just check the difference in second sector between Zach and Bailey.
Meanwhile, Spicy's making his way into the chicane, the final chicane. Red Bull directly in front of him. Oh, and a Mercedes. Almost going into pit lane as Spicy improves by 2 tenths. It's Hillez. He must have made a mistake out of the chicane and lost control of the car.
A lot of people on flying laps right now.
Can't find the lap times, can you? That's okay. I'm just quite perplexed how that isn't a warning. The game is quite strict when it comes to that sort of thing. So, Spilly, Spilly getting very getting too comfortable with the outside curve at turn 7. It's a really, really nasty curve. You can use some of it, but you can't use as much as Spilly has. Otherwise, the car doesn't like it at all. You need to try and keep it on the black stuff if you can, not on the curb stuff.
Plebs is 3 times up in the first sector. Oh, what happened?
Hillez has put it into the wall at the exit of the hairpin at turn 11. Losing the back end and destroying his front wing in the process. Plebs, you mentioned, is up by 3 tenths. Making his way through Spoon Curve and onto the long straightaway before 130R. Was shifted into top gear. Speeds over 300 kilometers an hour at 310, 312, 313 as he enters 130R. And up towards the Casio Triangle. Braking at the 100 board, bringing it down to 4th gear. Gets the apexes pretty spot on there. Around turn 18 as Vengeance jumps up to P5. Plev, meanwhile, jumps up to P7 with a 29.185, just behind Darren 11 in P6. So drivers, fair few drivers in the pit lane, they're getting ready for their final runs in this qualifying session. Wild Boy, meanwhile, heading up towards the middle sector split. It's very peculiar how short the 3rd sector is. around this racetrack.
Yeah.
I think it's the shortest sector on the calendar. Like,
Yeah.
4 turns, 2 of them are flat out. It's just very strange. Don't know why the sectors are like that, or as Wogboy actually decides to go back into pit lane. Roscoe Arms on an in-lap. Luke is on a flyer, I think.
Maybe just the first sector of Mexico is shorter, I guess. Like it's really tight, but it's still like pretty short, to be honest.
Yeah,
so...
I don't get why it's so small, but it is what it is. So it is what it is. As Luke will come up to the line to complete his lap and jumps up to P12 with a 29.4. He's currently just under 1 second behind pole position, still being occupied by G-Force Crichton. Contrast on an outlap, 10 Sandals on an outlap. Same with Ferrari Pro. The first of the drivers to set a lap, I believe, will be Grimmy in the Red Bull. He's making his way through Spoon and onto the straightaway towards 130R. Chip, he's making his way around the hairpin. He's getting ready for his final run. Grimmy, meanwhile, he'll head up towards 130R, get through the chicane, and make sure he can carry as much speed around the final corner so he can begin his final flying lap optimally. Through the chicane, second gear, short shifting up to 4th, trying to find as much traction as possible as he reaches full throttle. We will get into
traffic.
Yes, this is going to be interesting. How traffic is going to play a part in this. McLaren getting out of the way, a nice job there. That is Spicy, I believe, because he's just begun an outlap. So Spicy, well done to you, mate, getting out of the way properly. Through the S's. Yeah, other cars are going to get involved, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of them actually.
Yeah, this is the problem with going out at this sort of time, like at about 4 minutes to go, because you know you have to deal with traffic on your flying lap.
Yeah, exactly.
Up towards turn 9, carrying a lot of speed there, gee whiz. As he heads up towards the hairpin of turn 11, down to 3rd gear. Doesn't bother to use 2nd, gets a nice run out of the hairpin as he makes his way around 200R. Ferrari, well done there, getting out of the way. As he heads up towards Spoon Curve. Now, meanwhile, iContrast is on the lap. He's making his way up towards Spoon Curve. 10 Sandals beginning a flying lap. He's making his way through the first sector. Ferrari Pro making his way towards traffic. Look at the field in front. And AlphaTauri backing off and getting out of the way. Is that Contrast? No, Contrast is making his way towards 130R. Flat out. A little bit slower than what I saw from a few other drivers. Only 308 kilometers an hour at the entry. Grimmy will cross the line. And he improves by a little bit, but stays P17.
Ooh. Contrast to the big moment. Let's see.
P6. Not a bad lap time at all. 29.095. He is 800ths behind Vengeance in P5, who's getting ready to set his final flying lap. Spicy beginning his final flying lap, making his way down the main straightaway as Ferrari Pro jumps up to P5 with a 28.994. Meanwhile, 40 making his way through the S's. He's got a relatively clear track in front of him. GeForce Leo is currently down to the first sector, making his way up towards turn 10 and more critically, turn 11, 7th gear, bringing it down to 4th. Does he go any lower? No, uses 4th gear at the exit of the hairpin. That's a first for me as he makes his way around 200R and up towards Spoon Curve. Crichton, meanwhile, he's just behind, making his way around 200R and making his way towards Spoon. Now watch this. Misses the apex, uses the outside there, somehow doesn't cop a warning and an invalidated lap. That is quite remarkable.
There is also, I think against the rules, but anyway.
Now Leo was up
quite
by
controversial.
Yes, there'll probably be a few chats about it. Leo makes his way around the final corner to cross the line and jump up to pole with a 28.4. Crichton, though, crosses the line and he pips his G-Force compatriot.
Watch out for Ford. Watch out for Ford.
He's up by 2.5 tenths to the middle sector. He makes his way around the final corner, up towards the line for the Ferrari driver. He pips Crichton. Not by much, though. By 13 thousandths of a second. Spicy stays in 4th position with a 28.8. Vengeance, his session is done. Contrast is doing rallycross. Darren 11's making his way up towards the middle sector split. What does the clock say for the Alfa Romeo driver? It says he's well down. His session is done. I didn't quite catch the timer initially. His session is well and truly done, and I think it's the same story for Plev. So it's qualifying over. It's Ford on pole position. Ridiculously fine margins at the end of qualifying here at Suzuka. 26 thousandths of a second separating the top 3. There we go. Quite insane. Then 4/10ths back is Leo's teammate Spicy. That's a pretty big gap between P3 and 4.
Yeah, it is. But then afterwards we've got 11 drivers in 1 second.
Correct. So from 28.8 to 15, I think. 28.8 to a 29.8 is 15 cars.
Yeah.
1 second. 15 cars. Insane. Look at that. 40 on pole, 13 thousandths ahead of Crichton, who is 13 thousandths ahead of Leo. That's the top 3. Spicy P4, making it a McLaren second row. Ferrari Pro P5, then Vengeance P6, and I contrast, Darren 11, Plebs and Spilly rounds out the top 10. 10th Sandals P11, then Bags, G4 Zach, Luke, Wogboy, Chip, Karma, Roscoe, Grimmy, and Hillez. So yeah, 1.4 seconds behind is Grimmy. 0.4 is Spicy. 1 second between P14 to P19. Gee whiz. Also, hello to Caterpillar, KD, and ACW in the chat. Nice to see you fellas here. Yeah, quite literally ACW. They're in a class of their own, the top 3. They're quite insane. And I imagine there'll be a bit of chatting going on about what happened during qualifying. So,
yeah, I'm pretty sure about this as well.
We'll talk about that post-race. We'll get through the race first. Overcast conditions, at least slightly overcast. There's obvious blue patches up in the sky. So, we may see some wet weather. I've got no idea what the weather report actually looks like. But as of right now, it's dry. That's a really important detail. Now, in the Elite Series, we saw a fairly even mix between medium and hard tyres. Marco, do you think we'll see a similar story here in Tier 1?
Well, I think the strategy will be... Many drivers will start on the hards, I guess. In the end, there's no big difference between the 2 tires. It's just the first 3 or 4 laps there, of course, the hards tend to struggle a bit more.
Yeah.
But in the end, the pace is pretty similar. So, like, I would have gone for the hards if I was one of the drivers. See what they chose.
Drivers set off on their formation lap. Let's bring up the detail. Well, this is almost Singapore all over again.
Yeah.
Everyone is on the hard tyre bar one driver. Everyone,
pretty
all
obvious.
of you. Gee whiz. All of you. Except for Luke. Luke down in P14 is the only driver starting on the medium compound tyre. Everyone else is on the hards. Okay. Well, we probably don't need the tyre graphic then for a while, I'd say. Everyone's on the same tyre.
Pretty easy.
Yes, less to worry about. That's very interesting. Well, the drivers need to make sure they get plenty of temperature into their tyres before the start. Cold, hard tyres, yeah, they're not fun. They're anything but fun, actually.
Yeah.
So.
And tyre wear is really high as well on this track.
And there's a predicted strategy, lap 12 to 15, to get off the mediums onto hards. Now the only person who has that strategy going on is Luke. P14. Everyone else is on the reverse strategy. Hard to medium. Fascinating. Alright.
And Luke will have a pretty big advantage in the first 2 or 3 laps, so he needs really to extract the most from this situation.
Trouble is, being stuck down in P14, you're literally in the middle of everything, so it's going to be tough to make up places as Crichton does a bit of lawn mowing.
Yeah, I think the mediums was a choice just for front row runners. Like, Ford and Crichton could choose to go to the mediums because they would have clean air.
Yeah, so they could try and break away early from everyone else and build a gap. So, which almost worked for this man, F1 Ferrari Pro's Vengeance. He was going to go into pit lane. He made a mistake coming out of the chicane and put it down pit road, but he managed to get it out of there and back down the main straightaway. But yeah, Ferrari Pro almost made a medium to hard strategy work in the Elite Series, but unfortunately made a mistake through the S section a little while after the race leader Marcus Costa made a pit stop, and it ultimately ruined his race for the win, at least. So medium hard can work, but that doesn't matter. Everyone's on the hard tyre except for Luke. All 20 cars are lined up ready to race. We got 27 laps in front of us and 10 or 5 red lights. And we are underway here at Suzuka. It's a nice start from Ford. Will he cover the inside line to down? No, he doesn't need to cover. He's got a mega start heading down into turn 1. Rest of the field making their way through the opening couple of corners. Spicy and Ferrari Pro side by side as Ferrari Pro around the... Oh, a bit of low mowing for Vengeance as he tumbles down the order to last position. He was forced out wide and he's down to last. Through the S's we go. Around turn 6, up towards turn 7. It was a nice overtake from Ferrari Pro there at the start. Right round the outside of turn 2 and he's into 4th place. Contrast is closing in P6 as they go through the Degner curve. Around turn 9 and up towards the hairpin. Everyone else is trying to sort themselves out.
And watch for Luke. Luke has gained 4 positions. He's in P10 now.
Looking around the outside here at Darren 11 at the hairpin. And ironically turn 11. Now you look down the inside at turn 12. They're side by side through 200R. Darren 11 trying to fight around the long way, but now he gives in. Doesn't want to battle Luke. He knows he's on the medium compound tyre, so there's no need to battle him right now. Luke lining up Spilly down the straightaway towards 130R, looking down the inside. Spilly, yeah, he's backing off. He doesn't want to fight Luke either, so a superb start. Oh, running wide is Spilly there at 130R. But rejoins in front of Darren 11, who looks down the inside at the chicane. Can't get the move done. Tent Sandals and Bags Liddell were also battling for position in the background as well. As they head down the main straightaway, Bags is through into P11. Better straight line speed in the Ferrari, it would seem. Darren, oh, off the circuit he goes. Whoa, he is way off the racetrack. He'll rejoin. The side Grimmy, oh, almost lost control of the car, but he's down in P17. He had a massive moment at turn 1, but thankfully he was able to keep it out of the barrier.
Let's see if let's look by. Could be a wise choice from the Alpine drivers.
I think it'll be a wise decision. I mean, Luke's on the medium tyre. Let him be the battering ram to carve up through the field. I think it'll be very smart. At the moment, they're holding firm. Levs in P7, Luke in P8. Tent Sandals, Bags Liddell, side by side.
Oh, side by side.
Around 200R. Oh, and Bags has spun! Bags has spun! How did he spin?
Oh, he doesn't have any damage either.
No. How on earth did he lose it there? Maybe they did make contact, small contact, and Bags spun out. I'm not sure, but he's down to last with whatever happened there. How peculiar. I don't understand. I don't think I've ever seen anyone spin out at 200R like that.
Yeah.
That's a new one, for sure.
It happens just on the way. But...
Yeah. And that was straight, yeah. Can't wait to see an onboard of that. Luke closing in on Plevs. Plevs not moving away. So Luke's gonna stay in behind his teammate. Yeah. Oh, Luke! Oh, what a catch! Lost the back end at turn 2. Caught it brilliantly though. And he's still within half a second of his teammate. Well done. That was a good catch right there. And contrast.
Watch out, because Leo has lost the DRS for now.
Yeah,
so it's going to be vulnerable to Ferrari Pro.
Yeah,
so the top 2 is just improving just a little bit.
He needs to get back within that 1 second range to keep the fight alive at the front. I mean, you only have a single DRS zone, but even that single DRS zone can prove quite game-changing because of how much speed you can gain. Look at the line! Did he get a warning from that?
No, you usually don't.
What?
Well, yeah.
That's silly. This is reminiscent of older F1 titles where you could get away with stuff like that. I remember back in F1 2019, there were a few places where you could do something like that. Famous ones were Stowe at Silverstone, where you could run wide on the exit and not get a warning. And another famous one was Turn 12 at Circuit Paul Ricard, where you could run awfully wide and not get a warning. So, yeah, no, that's a new one. I've never seen that before, and I don't think I have the skill to try and pull that off. If I try and do that, I'll spin out as Wogboy moves by 10 sandals. That's for P11. He made that move at turn 1. 10's not giving up. He's right on the gearbox of the Alfa Romeo through the S section, heading up towards Dunlop Corner. Meanwhile, Crichton's closed in just a little bit. Gap's just over half a second now. It was about 8/10 last time I checked. So Crichton, I think maybe thanks to the DRS, now starting to close in bit by bit. Leo's closing in too, but he's running low on battery. You can tell from the flashing light at the back of his car. According to the telemetry, he's got 3% battery. He is using everything he's got to try and catch up to the top 2. No wide racing line that time. Yeah, strange. Yeah, strange.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we'll talk about it after the race. But for now, everyone's driving pretty well. Everyone's kept it relatively
I think Leo has
tidy.
just lost the DRS. He was so close. Now he's not going to have it. No, he's not.
Yeah, no DRS for the McLaren drive, so you won't be closing in on the top 2. Crichton is closing in on the race leader down into turn 1 and around turn 2. And up towards the S's, the infamous S's. Turns 3, 4, up towards turn 5. Yellows are out. It's Grimmy, I think. No, it's Leo! Leo has dropped down the order. Oh my goodness, he's made a mistake at turn 2. Oh, ghosting system, you better work. Oh dear. Oh, he's lost control of the car, but he's gathered it up again. The dirty tyre's not helping him out. He has to drive so carefully. You can see the 3 cars behind, bunching up behind the McLaren. As they head towards the Degner curve, the 50 board has just been destroyed. As they go through turn 9 and up towards 10 and 11. But what a blow for Leo. I said at the beginning of this stream, he needed a result to revive his championship hopes. He's outside of the points after that mistake, and it's going to be very tough to get back within the points and back to a solid result. So, yeah, that's quite the blow for Leo, if ever I saw one. So now it's a 2-horse race. Once again, Ford and Crichton, 1 and 2. Half a second separating the 2 cars as they begin lap 6 of 27 here at Suzuka. Third place is now Ferrari Pro, who was 2.9 seconds behind, but he's got a comfy gap to Spicy, 1.8 seconds between the 2 cars. Behind Spicy is I Contrast, Plevs and Luke. So Luke still behind his teammate, and I think by now his tyres have seen better days. The pace between the hard and the mediums is a bit even now, so Luke I don't think he'll be moving anywhere from P7. Spilly in P8 following behind. Then it's a bit of a gap back to G4 Zach, Wogboy and Tent. Chip not too far behind, same with Hilles, Darren 11 and Karma. That's the top 15 and those are the point scoring places. Yeah, everyone's sort of... They're in DRS trains, but they're not really making any moves. They're a bit too far away from one another to make moves right now. And it's probably too early in the race to be making big moves. Big risky moves. Like Luke needed to because he was on the medium compound tyre, so that's understandable completely. But for everyone else, it's just about getting through this stint without crashing and then getting onto the medium tyre to finish the race without crashing. So, top 2, it's properly on. Half a second still. Crichton just hovering behind. Using DRS to help him out. According to the telemetry, he's on 46%. 40's got more. So 40 is in a really nice place right now when it comes to pace. Because he's keeping Crichton at bay and he's got more battery. In saying that though, with Crichton, this is quite a lot of battery for him. 51% after 7 laps. He tends to spend quite a lot more than that. So Crichton, although he may have less battery, he'll know what to do with that battery when he needs to use it. So this is going to turn into an interesting... Oh, wiggle there from Ford at the exit of turn 9, but he still gains time on Crichton. Yeah, he's in a really good place with that car right now. He's looking fast. Yellows, it's bags. Spinning, that is at turn 7, a Dunlop curve. Oh dear. This race has gone that little bit worse for him. Just needs to be careful now not to spin. Again, yellows are out again. It's Tent Sandals. Oh, and that's the same place where Bags has spun. But he's got complete wing damage. There is bits of front wing on the racetrack. How is there not a virtual safety car? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's... Yeah. Unbelievable.
Honestly, like... There can be a crash off the racetrack, like 30 meters away from the racetrack, where a car loses an end plate or something, and the safety car will deploy. Well, the safety car will come out, but that we didn't even get a VSC. That is a clear-cut VSC in real life. But no.
Yeah. Nice move by Illas, by the way. Overtaking Chip.
Quite right. Now Hillis
now the big gainers. Hillis is actually the biggest gainer in this situation. He's gained 8 positions from the start. Luke has gained 7, and then the biggest losers are, of course, Leo, and then Vengeance dropped 12 positions as well, and 10 Sandals with 9 positions lost, 9 last place.
Yeah. So. Plenty of drivers gaining, but yeah, credit to Hillis. Oh, spin! Darren 11! He's put it into the wall! You can see debris all over the track. He's destroyed his front wing. No VSC, no safety car whatsoever. Still green flag, so he'll need to make a pit stop and get that car fixed. Oh dear. Adam Freud still is 40 in Crichton, and they're still separated by half a second. It is quite incredible how close it's been between these two all season long. And looks like that competitiveness is going to translate over to here at Suzuka. There are a lot of laps to go. That battle is definitely on. Just got to keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, High Contrast still keeping up with Spicy. Half a second between these two cars. Plev's losing a little bit of time. He's just a second behind. He needs to try and get the hammer down and get back within that critical 1 second range at the end of the lap. Darren 11, meanwhile, in the pit lane, getting his car serviced so he can return to the racetrack with a properly working F1 car. Hilles! He has spun! Oh no, he is way off the racetrack. How on earth did you pull that off? He was off into the tyre barrier at turn 7. But not at the exit, it was like midway through turn 7.
That's weird.
Yeah. So either he might have lost it at turn 6, put it into the wall, or he had help. Someone pushed him off. I'm not sure. Yeah, that was strange. I don't know how he ended up there. He's now down in P17. All that hard work, making his way up through the field, gone.
Yeah.
All gone. Commentator's curse. Tado? Commentator's curse.
Really, once again.
Well, knowing these drivers, Gavin, they're all running aggressive setups. These guys are wizards when it comes to driving these cars.
Yeah, true.
They'll be running relatively low wings. For the racetrack, that is. Like you would imagine with a circuit with such high-speed corners, you'd be running a car with a lot of wing, a lot of downforce. For most of the drivers, they'll be running a little over 20 wing because they need that straight line speed in order to try and make overtakes. You really do need it.
Yeah, of course. Because you can be as fast as you can into Sector 1, but it's really, really hard to overtake over there. So basically, if you haven't got that straight line speed, you're basically going to be a sitting duck.
Yep.
And, yeah.
And it's not just down the main straight either. It's down the long straight after Spoon where you can be quite vulnerable. Especially when you're about 10 to 12 kilometers per hour slower down the straightaway. Because the car behind you just gains so much time.
Yeah.
So they can try and set up a pass into the final chicane if they're really going for it. So, as Crichton's dropped out of that 1 second range.
Yeah.
He's now 1.1 behind.
It's looking pretty comfy right now.
40 just set fastest lap. He was using a fair bit of battery there. They're switching it on. As Luke goes into pit lane, he'll get off the medium compound tyre and move on to a set of hards. So these two are starting to turn up the wick. They're getting close to their pit window. So they're pushing now. Trying to build a gap. Well, 40's trying to build a gap. Crichton's trying to close the gap. But they're both building a gap over Ferrari Pro. It's now 5.3 seconds. Yellows are out. Leo? Is it? I think it is.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
Turns 1 and 2. Dear me, that's quite a filthy-looking McLaren, I must say. A lot of dirt on it.
This is basically where he spun before, actually, right?
Just a little bit before. Yes, that's right. He spun just after turn 2, I think, last time. That time it was just before turn 2. So, Leo not having a fun time in the first sector, it would seem. But he's in the points, I guess. He's 15th. That's 1 point. It's 10 sandals. Gets a 3-second time penalty. Through 130R goes the race leaders up towards the final chicane. Crichton closing in to within 4/10 of the race leader. Coming out of 17. Around the final corner, turn 18. You can see Crichton sitting in the slipstream and he's using up his battery. Crichton sets fastest lap and here comes the championship leader. Closes in, but not by enough to attack into turn 1. He looks just briefly at turn 2. He was showing the nose there to Ford, but Fordy, he didn't, he wasn't phased by that movement. Maintained his line. Now he's got a 4/10 margin again over Crichton. Yeah, no, Crichton just showing the nose. Try and disturb Ford, but Ford, he was all okay. Made his way through turn 2 quite happily. But no, I actually talked to Fordy a little bit after the Singapore Grand Prix. He was not happy with himself at all after what happened at Singapore. With everything that went down on his end. So he's looking for a bit of redemption here at Suzuka as 10 gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding, and that's Vengeance spinning out underneath the overpass. Yellows are out again. I think Vengeance is missing a front wing as well. Yes, he is. So that's the third front wing that is missing off a car. No VSC, no safety car as of yet. Very interesting. Back onto the main straightaway. 40 replies to Crichton's previous fastest lap. He sets a 31.8 and he's now got a 7/10 margin to the Mercedes driver in P2. They're still pulling away from third. They're now 6.8, 6.9 seconds away from F1 Ferrari Pro in P3. But I'm sure he's pretty happy with that P3 right now. He's maintaining the gap to Spicy, who is also keeping eye contrast, Plevs and Spilly behind as well. Rest of the gap though looking decently big as Vengeance pits in, obviously to repair his front wing. Yeah, a few drivers being caught out, and that is an Aston Martin in front of this. That must be Tent Sandals. He's going to join the this leading duo.
Well, 4D wouldn't be unhappy about having some DRS, some free DRS. That always helps.
Oh, Leo has spun again.
Oh.
He is having a less than great day here at Suzuka. That is probably a massive understatement, as Darren 11 gets a 3-second time penalty. He's down in 17th place now, outside of the points. It's a really not great situation for G-Force Leo right now. He needs a safety car.
Pits.
Yes, you're right. In he comes. 10 Sandals retires. Now, hopefully his AI doesn't stop in the fast lane.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I've seen this happen before.
It's all good. The AI, it's behind Crichton, so it didn't impede him. Crichton will come out behind Wogboy in front of Chip. So in P9 and in clear air as well.
Oh no, the car.
Oh, gee whiz. Oh,
I love this game.
it gives me a headache every time I see something like that. Thankfully, ghosting is turned on.
Oh my god. Luke was really, really close to crashing into the car. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
we've
unbelievably
disappointing.
disappointing.
Like, I've been a part of the F1 League racing community since F1 2019, and since those days we've been asking for cars to despawn in the pit lane when you retire. It's now been 3 years, they haven't done that.
Incredible.
So, I guess it's just impossible for them to do it, even though I have seen it happen. Into the pits comes race leader Ford. So, has the overcut worked? Find out. 40 coming out of the pits, Ferrari Pro staying out, so is a lot of other drivers. Plebs is coming in, Spilly's coming in. Where is that Mercedes dot? It's coming around the final corner now. 40 will make his way onto the straightaway. Yeah, he's got Crichton, I'm pretty certain, but he needs to be careful on those cold tyres. They're not going to feel great through the first sector, that's for sure. Crichton's tyres have turned on. Through the S's, 3, 4, through 5, into the right-hander of turn 6. It's now half a second between the two cars through Dunlop Curve. 3.5 tenths now. The gap increases a little bit. 40 got a nice run. Into the Degner Curve. Turn 8, then turn 9. Crichton gets through that pretty well. A little bit of a wiggle there. Up towards the hairpin, turn 11. Crichton not close enough to attack, so the undercut hasn't worked in Crichton's favour. Crichton still behind Ford, but the battle is still very much on between these two cars. Still got a few drivers yet to pit. We've got the top 5 still to make a pit stop. They'll make their pit stops very, very soon. See there, 40 just using a little bit of battery. Keep Crichton at bay as they make their way towards 130R. Absolutely flat out through the left-hander. You can see the flashing red light at the back of Crichton's car. He is low on battery. He used every bit of it trying to make the undercut work.
Everyone pitting. Everyone pitting.
Yeah, all the top 5. Yeah, spot on. Crichton sets a new fastest lap. That is to be expected. So everyone will be moving onto the medium compound tyre, just like our top 2. Except for one, Grimmy in the Red Bull. He stays out for another lap. Maybe taking a gamble. Same with Roscoe. He stays out for another lap. I mean, why not? In your position, might as well take a gamble or something. So, Plevs on the back of Spicy. So Plevs has had a nice stop. The lap before. He's made that undercut work pretty well. He's here we go. Through turn 7. He's got speed. He's got grip. But, yeah, no, just unable to find a way past through the opening sector. Can he get a nice run through turn 9? If he can...
Could be.
Not quite. He's too far behind to attack into the hairpin. Too far away. If Spicy didn't get a good run out of turn 9, there was an opportunity for Plebs to pass into the hairpin, but Spicy was on top of his game there. He got a nice run through 9. Was able to keep Plebs at bay. So that undercut almost worked for Plebs, but not quite. Still behind Spicy. Front of Contrast. Now though. Spilly closing in as well on this battle. 40, new fastest lap, 31.1. Still has 6/10 over Crichton. 40's got the measure over Crichton, but Crichton's hanging on. Hanging on to that 1 second range, that critical 1 second range. So long as Crichton does that, he is still very much in the fight. And 40 will know that. He'll know that all too well. Grimmy in third, then Roscoe Arm. Now Ferrari Pro is closing in. 6/10 separate the two cars. How hard will these two battle? I don't imagine they'll battle too hard. I would think. But I don't know Roscoe Arm's mentality right now. Roscoe is typically quite conservative. But who knows, he might not be in a conservative mood tonight. Let's find out. Up into the hairpin. Turn 11. Oh, Roscoe missing the apex by a continent there. But he gets a nice exit. Pulls away from Ferrari Pro. Ferrari Pro responds by switching on the battery. Minimizing the gap. As he heads into Spoon Curve. Look at the line. That is so weird. The understeer that Roscoe Arm has. And here comes Ferrari Pro. Roscoe doesn't bother fighting. He knows he can't fight. Too big of a tyre difference. So he lets the Williams through. Oh, he has a DRS zone coming up. Does he pit? Does he finally pit? Yep, in he comes. Grimmy stays out for another lap though. Pulls it up nicely and into the pits he goes.
And now Spicy is really closing in on Ferrari Pro.
Yeah, so the battle between those two is going to reignite, it seems. You're absolutely spot on. 8/10 is the gap. Used to be a little over a second, so...
It is actually a potential battle for a podium position.
Quite right.
Considering Grammy hasn't pitted, so it's going to be a big one. Pretty weak, yeah. Yeah,
with Ferrari Pro, Spicy, Plebs, iContrast, and Spilly, they're all in this train. So they're all theoretically in the fight. Fair enough, Gavin. Grevy's thinking for a run on the soft compound tyre. I mean, why not take the gamble? Wait maybe for a safety car or a virtual safety car to try and help yourself out. I mean, you've got nothing really to lose in this sort of position, so you might as well just try and do something different. Top two still separated by about 6/10 as Bags. Liddell gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Through the chicane. Oh, big old snap of oversteer from Crichton. He caught it well, but he lost a few tenths. Fortunately, DRS will gain him that time he lost at the chicane. Closes back in on the race leader. Grimmy losing time as expected, and Ferrari Pro is catching. So is Spicy in P5. The McLaren is closing in. The battle for provisional third is on. Through the S's. Turns 3, 4. Up towards turn 5. Then the long right-hander of turn 6. Fifth gear. Does he short shift? The answer is yes. Through Dunlop curve. Up towards Degner, he loses time. The gap's almost 1 second, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, Ferrari Pro has a slightly better setup through the first sector. We'll see what Spicy can do here in the second and third sectors, because you've got a lot of flat out bits. Fourth gear at the exit of the hairpin for Spicy. Fifth gear, he switches on his battery through 200R. Does the gap shrink? It is shrinking a little bit. Well, it's looking pretty even between the two cars heading into Spoon. This will be another critical area.
Yeah, but now Spicy has actually seen the Ferrari Bros batteries flashing now.
Yes.
So he knows he needs to push right now.
Meanwhile, Ferrari Pro, he may be low on battery, but he's within a second of the car in front. He's going to get DRS down the main straightaway. Heading into the Casio Triangle, turn 16 and 17. Around the final corner, Grimmy pits in. He's done his hard stint. He'll move on to a set of softs. So this is it. Ferrari Pro in third. Spicy in fourth. Plebs P5, then I Contrast P6. Billy is losing ground. He's 9 tenths behind Contrast. Leo gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Spicy, he needs to get this first sector spot on. Look at the gap. It's increasing to almost a second. There's the second marker as they go through Dunlop curve. It's now hovering just over a second. So I do believe Ferrari Pro has a better car through the first sector. It's got a car that has more downforce. So Spicy, he'll be gaining through sectors 2 and 3. Here we go, up towards the hairpin. It's quite an important corner considering his situation, because it dictates how much speed you can carry through 200R and up towards the Spoon curve.
He carried enough this time. Just gained 1/10.
Here we go, up towards Spoon. Yep, it's now 8 tenths. So yeah, he's definitely got a car that's faster down the straights. Here we go. So it's 8 tenths at the exit of Spoon. It's now 7 tenths. 6.5 tenths. 6 tenths. He's just gained 2 tenths. 5.5. Going through 130R. 5 tenths. 4.5. 4 tenths. He gained 4 tenths through that section alone. Coming out of Spoon, heading towards the chicane. And he's got DRS. Here he comes. Ferrari Pro not using any battery. 3 tenths. 2.5. He's now right in behind the Williams.
He needs to nail the first sector. After that, if he nails the first sector, then he's going to have a shot.
Ferrari Pro, he needs to do the same to try and keep P3. Every time he goes through this section, he needs to get it absolutely spot on. And he's gained about 4 tenths as Leo, he's left the session. He's currently in the pit lane. He's not retired, so hopefully he'll be able to join back as soon as possible. 7 tenths is now the gap. So Ferrari Pro has done really, really well through the first sector. He's gained plenty of time on Spicy, but he knows all too well that the McLaren is going to be very quick.
It's even closer than last lap.
Alright, so he was 8 tenths behind at the exit of Spoon on the previous lap. What's the gap now? 7 tenths, 6.5. So he's a little bit closer. He was using a little bit of battery. Just a hint of it. Ferrari Pro not using any himself. 40 setting a new fastest lap. He is pulling away from Crichton. The gap's now 1.4 seconds. Crichton, he doesn't have much battery to try and respond to Ford. Fordy's got over 50%. So Fordy, he can just open up the taps whenever he wants to, so he can try and pull away from the championship leader.
Spicy's really close, 2 times away, even less than 2 times.
Not close enough
He
to
needs
attack.
some momentum.
4 tenths separating the two cars. Half a second now. Can see the understeer the McLaren has.
Yeah.
See the Williams. It's able to get in towards the apex sooner, carrying more speed around the corners. See it here through Degner. It's a really sharp response. Compared to the McLaren, it's quite dull. Up towards the hairpin. 8 tenths is the gap. Ferrari Pro just maxing it through the first sector. But Spicy, he still has battery in hand. 40%. So does Ferrari Pro. He has 30. So the resource battle in terms of battery is quite even between the top two. Plevs, he's not quite close enough to battle. And I see a red fuel icon. Hang on. Yeah, he's under fuel. Yeah. He's a little bit under. 0.8 under. So he's got to be careful in terms of fuel. 40 setting a new fastest. He's pulling away. He's going. 1.7 seconds is the gap. Crichton can't do anything about this. So I don't think Crichton can win this race at this point. Only Ford can lose it. That's the only way he doesn't win this race, is by making a mistake at some point. He's got margin in hand though, and he's driving beautifully at the moment. He just needs to keep it all together. Or a bit of a wiggle, I think, there from Crichton as well. Ferrari Pro's still hanging on. He's got half a second in hand entering the S's, and he's going to pull away through every corner. See the apex speed here, 178. And Spicy just a hint under. Just a few kilometers per hour under, but it makes a big difference. Those few kilometers per hour, especially down the straightaways, you see a massive difference when it comes to setup. In corners, it's quite the same. Up towards the hairpin, turn 11. 8 tenths still separating the two. Nice run there from Spicy. No oversteer, no understeer, no wheel spin. Just very nice, very tidy. Up towards Spoon Curve, turns 13 and 14 to 8 gear, down to 6, back on the accelerator, brings it down to 5th gear, gets the apex pretty spot on, gains a little bit of time, switches on the battery, just for a hint. Gap shrinks to 6 tenths, gap shrinks to 5.5 tenths as they go through 130R. The gap shrinks some more as they go into the chicane. 3rd gear. Back on the accelerator, short shifting to 4th, up to 5th gear, 6th gear, he'll open DRS and switch on the battery, up into top gear. The gap shrinks to under half a second, under 4 tenths of a second as they go through turn 1 and into turn 2. Both cars have got pace in completely different areas of the racetrack. And they're almost completely even as Wogboy gets by Luke at turn 1. He moves himself into P8, but he has to overcome the time penalty next to his name. Chip gets by Karma at turn 1 as well, and he moves into P11. Through Degner. Up towards turn 9. Plebs closing in on Spicy.
Oh, Spicy is over a second now.
Yes, he is, but he will gain time. He will definitely gain time. Might use a little extra battery if he needs to. That's what he's doing. Darren 11 sets a new fastest lap, a 30.2 from him. He's currently 19th and last, so he needs that fastest lap. Try and score something. Coming out to Spoon. It's a nice run there. 8 tenths and 8.5 tenths is the gap. So they head down towards 130R. Gap shrinks to 7 tenths, 6.5 tenths. So they go through the Casio triangle and around the final corner. Seb still in DRS range. So you get it down the main straight and close in that little bit more. Plev's hovering behind, so is Contrast, so is Spilly. They're all there, so if it starts to kick off on the final couple of laps, they are in the prime position to try and capture a few extra places. As of right now, it's a 2-car fight for P3. At the moment, Ferrari Pro's winning it. He's just getting the first sector spot on, pulling away from Spicy by quite a bit. So much so that he can't make it up through the second and third sectors.
Yeah, it's really good racing for Ferrari Pro. Really good pace. He's always nailed every single first sector he's driven. So, quite remarkable, to be honest.
Yeah,
I hope I don't give him a commentator's curse now, but for now it's been incredible.
I think Ferrari Pro has learned from his mistake, from what happened in the Elite Series. He threw away a potential win in the S section. He looked strong, but he threw away the provisional, I think it was provisional second place at the time. No, it wasn't a provisional race lead. At turn 6, he threw it off the road. And he ultimately ended up finishing in second. And now he's utilising the experience from Sunday. He's making it count here, but Spicy's closing in. He's now 3/10, 2.5 tenths behind as they go through turn 2.
And Ferrari Pro's flag is flashing, was flashing at the exit of turn 1.
14% Ferrari Pro has, 24% Spicy has. But you can see that understeer. It's holding the McLaren back as Plevs is under a bit of pressure from High Contrast, who's within 4/10 of the Alpine driver. Into Degner. Cutting all of it. He's using every bit of racetrack there at turn 8.
It's pretty close now. Hopefully it doesn't mess with the exit here, the airpin. Looks nice and clean.
It did, didn't it? Nice, tidy from Spicy. Through 200R, up towards Spoon Curve. He uses a little inkling of battery there. He needs to get a very solid run through Spoon. It's really important that he gets this right. Oh, Ferrari Pro did well. The gap sitting at 7.5 tenths. Spicy uses a little bit of battery. He's running out of opportunities as the leaders have begun the final lap of the race. Spicy closing in bit by bit. You can see the flashing red light at the back of the woods. Will increases by a little, but he switches on DRS and dumps whatever's left in his battery. 4 tenths, 3.5 tenths, 2 tenths, through turn 1 into turn 2, not close enough. He gains a little bit at the apex, but it wasn't close enough to attack at turn 1. Now, I don't think he'll be able to attack at the hairpin. He's always been slow through the first sector, so he won't be close enough to attack at Kobayashi Corner. But if he can get the middle sector right, if he can get it absolutely spot on, he has a shot at the Casio Triangle, the final chicane. But he needs to get this sector spot on. Up towards the hairpin. This is the first critical area. Third gear, short shifts to fourth. Gets to maximum acceleration. But Ferrari Pro did better. Look at the gap. It's 6.5 tenths. He gained about a tenth on the exit, Ferrari Pro. Ferrari Pro on top of his game. Through Spoon Curve for the final time for these two. And speaking for the final time, what a superb performance from GeForce Ford. He will win the Japanese Grand Prix. It's his redemption after what happened at Singapore. Crichton will ultimately take P2. Ferrari Pro, will he hang on through the chicane for the final time? Spicy's got nothing left. Ferrari Pro around the final corner will take P3. And he was happy with that. That's for sure. Spicy, a hard-earned P4. Well done from him. Plevs rounding out the top 5. Getting 5th by less than a tenth of a second from Eye Contrast. Spilly P7. Then it'll be Wogboy, Luke, and GeForce Zach rounding out the top 10. Chip will cross the line P11. Holding off Karma in 12th. Grimmy, Roscoe Arm. Oh, Roscoe Arm pipped him at the line there by 0.02 of a second. How reminiscent between Vettel and Alonso. Roscoe Arm pipped Grimmy, I believe, at the line.
Amazing.
And final point scoring spot will go to Hillers. in 15th. Vengeance 16th, and Darren 11th. With fastest lap, mind you. I do believe he did get fastest lap. We'll check that in the final results. But there we are. The end to the Japanese Grand Prix. Driver of the day, it's been given to Luke. No surprises there. He made a lot of overtakes early on. Put on quite a fine performance. Ended up finishing in the top 10. Now it's time for the corridor of celebration. Going to be G-Force Ford walking down the aisle. What a performance from him. Drove near perfect the entire time. Just drove really, really incredibly well. P2 goes to championship leader Crichton. He tried to give it to Ford, just wasn't quite quick enough. And third place goes to F1 Ferrari Pro. A hell of a performance from him to take the final podium spot. So, this will be race win number 3, or number 4 if you want to include the sprint race. But this will be full race Grand Prix win number 3 for G-Force Ford here at Suzuka, winning by 7.2 seconds over G-Force Crichton. F1 Ferrari Pro completing the podium places. Then we have Spicy, Plevs, iContra, Spilly, Wogboy, Luke, and Zach rounding out the top 10. Then we've got Chip, Karma, Rosgram, Remy, Hillez, Vengeance, Darren 11. Bags Liddell got fastest lap in 18th place. There we go. So he ended up getting fastest lap. Leo left towards the end of the race, so I don't know if he will be classified or not. And our only retirement of the event was Tent Sandals. Hello, 40.
Hello, hello.
Hello,
Hello, hello.
hello.
Hello,
Thank
hello.
you as well, Pato, for inviting the 3 in. I do appreciate
problem.
that.
Just for your info, the new update is out. So
Yeah,
make
I
sure.
should be saying that.
Copy.
Yeah,
Understood.
thank
Copy.
you.
Yeah, no. Can't quite do that yet. Still midstream, so
Yeah, of course.
we'll get through this, hopefully without the update messing around with us.
No, I shouldn't.
Virtual showroom. There we are. 40 Redemption Day. Is it?
Oh yeah, it is indeed, mate. That was big, that one.
That was big. Well done.
Yeah.
Speaking of big, Ferrari Pro, hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Mega tonight, eh?
Oh my god, man, that was tough.
Yeah, it looked like it.
That was really tough. And my room is just so hot right now, so yeah.
Oh, and
Sorry, I need to get a drink just.
Broke Vegan wants to tell you, I love you. So, just so you know.
Oh, thank you, vegan.
He's spamming it in the chat. So, hello, Crichton.
Dawn boys.
Oh, not too bad. Don't know about you though, Mr. Fit Boy. Gee whiz, get better.
Yeah, not ideal, mate. Not good at all.
ideal. No, that's an
It's a hard race, that one. Pretty tired after that, not gonna lie. Fucking hell.
Knackered. Well, not through it all. That's the main thing.
Yeah,
So
we'll
thank
take
you.
those points.
Thank you all 3 of you for joining us here in the comms box to answer a few questions. We'll go from third, we'll make our way up, you know the drill. So we'll start with you, Ferrari Pro. That was a hell of an effort from you at the end of that race, so congratulations on your P3 finish. You did your happy little steering wiggle at the line, so I imagine you're pretty pumped with the result.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that one because, like, I was running a lot higher downforce setting compared to everyone else, so it was really tough on the straights, and I'm not a good battery manager, so that added another level. And, oh man, it was just so good.
Qualifying though, P5, were you happy with that?
Yeah, I was happy with that. Like, with the level of competition in Tier 1, like, that's bloody rapid, but, you know, top 3 were just on a class of their own, so I knew I didn't have a chance for pole or maybe even the top 3, but I'll definitely take P5s.
But no, yeah, the top three, 4 tenths ahead of the next car in terms of pace. That was kind of nuts. But then after that, between P4 to P19, it was 1 second. So, yeah, tight, very tight in the midfield there. But was there any more time in the lap, you reckon? Maybe a little bit more?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more, to be honest. Definitely around the S section. I felt like I didn't do quite as good cornering. Well, of course not, because I was running lower downforce for Sunday night, but
Yeah.
I felt I just wasn't judging the whole S section as well as I did on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe a little bit of time, but definitely not bloody, what was it, 28 fours or something Pole was getting.
But how was the race start for you?
Oh, yeah, it was a really good start off the line. I got the jump and spicy, and then I knew like I had some decent early pace, and then Leo spun, which was really unfortunate. And then I knew I had to, dig down, and I went for a big gamble of staying out for another 2 laps compared to if it was Crichton that went in first.
Yep.
So I did a gamble that they were going to get stuck in traffic, which they didn't. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's just the best I could have got tonight. I'm so happy with that.
No, that final stint, it looked like you were on it every lap.
It was crazy because I'd be on the main straight and going into turn 1. It would be like close to nearly 3-4 tenths, and I'd gain it back into 130R the next lap and that.
Yep.
And I just kept going down, going up, going down. I was like, just make a decision.
But no, it got close towards the end, but you held off the chasing pack, took home a podium in Tier 1. Yeah.
It's a good one after like the bad luck I've had to the start of the Tier 1 season, but yeah, I'm really happy with that. Got some good points back.
And I imagine, yeah, especially after a race like this where you really had to work for it. Like, you had a car that was faster through the corners, which means you have to be on it through every corner. You can't back off. So the fact that you held on, credit to you, man. You drove pretty well.
And I was like going for it through Degner 1. I was just sending it through there. Honestly, I think I got 1 warning and that's it. But
okay.
And I was just sending it through there. I think that's where I gained a lot of the time in the first to the second sector. So
yeah. Marco, have you got anything to ask Ferrari Pro?
Well, what can I say? Really well done, mate. Congratulations for your podium. Is it your first in Pacific Tier 1?
I think I got 2 last season when I was like reserving, but it's my first this season.
Okay, so well done, really well done. I haven't got anything to ask actually, but I just wanted to, say congratulations. Really well done.
Thanks.
At Zandvoort. So no, welcome back to the podium in Tier 1 Ferrari Pro. Well done. But,
Thank you, mate.
But one final question for you. Next week, we're heading over to Silverstone. Funnily enough, I think I got your opinion about the circuit a few nights ago. I'll ask it anyway. You looking forward to it?
Yeah, it's a good track.
Oh, really?
So everything I've said. Yeah, it's a good track.
It's a good track, isn't it? Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a good track.
It's a good track. Yeah.
Should
race as well.
Sprint race, yeah.
Yep. So 2 races in 1. So best of luck, Mr. Ferrari Pro. But congratulations on your 3rd place finish, because holy mackerel, you worked for it tonight. Well done.
Yeah. Thank you, Lane and Marco, and congrats, Zach and Bailey. You guys were just on a different level tonight.
Cheers, Ferrari.
Cheers, mate.
Speaking on a different planet, Crichton. Mate, that was an interesting session from you. Interesting qualifying we picked up. We just like to ask Spoon.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty fast, that one.
Excuse you. But that's very reminiscent of F1 2019 days.
Yeah, and stuff. If the game ain't penalise you, then, why not?
Yeah, no. How?
But then if you saw my last run, I didn't really do it well. I lost a bit of time there, so... But oh well. Because my middle run was amazing. I'm pretty sure my middle run was a 4.9, which I was stoked with that. I was like, that's a really good middle. I kind of thought I could probably try and do a 0.2 for the final run, and I don't know, just didn't really hook up the first sector and middle sector really, I'd say.
Yep.
On that final run, which kind of... I'd say this track is all about quali, mainly, because you cannot pass, which I'm sure you saw, but... Yeah.
But, 13,000s, mate.
Yeah, I know. So I've just done that little mistake, I'm telling you, at Spoon. I just was being soft through there and just could not find the time, but still we'll take the front row start here. That's the main thing, is just always just trying to qualify on that front row.
Yeah.
Which is very important.
Unfortunately for you, though, 40 got a decent start.
Yeah, he did for once.
No,
So Bailey's pretty shit at starts, so I was kind of like, nah, this should be pretty easy in turn 1 still. But no, he got a ripper start. It's probably his best he's done all bloody, I don't even know, his whole life probably.
Maybe.
Yeah, but no, he got a great start.
But no, he most certainly did cover you off at turn 1, and then...
Yeah, I was way behind.
What were those first few laps? Was it hanging on, or was it being conservative, or a bit of both?
Oh, no, I was trying to be conservative really. Like, I knew that I could stay with him, stuff, so I was just trying to keep the gap around 7/10 to 9/10 really. Just by lap 3, just try and stay 7/10 behind, and then I tried once to close up, but yeah, the straight's just way too short here, and like I'm pretty sure I got a warning when I even tried on that lap too, so I feel like that kind of told me there was no chance of me just being able to pass into turn 1.
Yep, right.
So that's when I
guess that sort of influenced your undercut.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'd say it was a few laps prior to where I wanted to box, but I don't know, I just felt like I had to try something.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you, and that sort of, especially here at Suzuka, because you're right, it is very tough to pass here, so you need to try something.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it just didn't quite work out.
So. Then I feel my setup just, I feel like it chewed the tyres just a little bit more than Bailey, because from what he said, his tyres were about 15-20% less than mine at the end, so I think mine were around like 85, so I think it got to like 3-4 laps to go, and I was like, alright, let's just try and make it to the end and just get those points. It's amazing.
The gap well and truly opened up at the end of the race. So.
As soon as Bailey got to 1.5 and then slightly more, I was like, we'll just take P2 here. There's no point risking it, so it's alright. That's how you win championships some days like this, just taking those points. So
just conserve the result and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Marco, have you got anything to ask Brighton?
What can I say? Well done. I mean, as you said, like, it didn't look like you had the pace towards the end, so taking this P2 was the best you could do. Well done. I was about to say something about next weekend, because Lane did mention that we're gonna have a sprint race as well at Silverstone.
Yeah.
I think so. Thank you.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
I mentioned it was a friend. I did mention that.
Sorry. Okay.
That's alright.
How is the weekend gonna change for you? Like, are you gonna still be aggressive in every session, or just try and get conservative for the sprint and maybe go
for next week
for the race? Yeah.
I'd say probably just full commitment, like always for me. There's kind of just a switch in my brain which I can't really turn off. Which I'm sure you've seen over the past many seasons.
Brain, no?
And there's just something you can't turn off. So I'll be sure to be on full attack on that one to try and get those points back, and so that's the main thing. And
we're racing at Silverstone next week, and I know you two have had a famous finish or two at Silverstone. You in 40, so what are your thoughts heading into next week?
And stuff should be good. I see Lane or Bailey.
You.
It should be good heading into next week. The sprint should be kind of good to see how that goes, because I don't know.
I think
kind of imagine that'll be and stuff. I imagine that'll be on the medium tire again, so we'll see how that one goes, but it should be a bit of fun, I'd say, especially with Leo, because I know he had a really good league race there a few weeks back, so I'm sure he'll be rapid there, because I'm pretty sure it's a crazy quality time, so I think he'll definitely be one to watch there.
He needs to do something. He's in he's a patchy form right now.
Yeah, he's struggling at the moment, Leo, so hopefully he can turn that around, but yeah, from memory last season, I think I had a really good quality lap at Silverstone too.
Yeah.
It was amazing, but yeah.
Well, best of luck for next week, Crichton.
Cheers.
But for now, congrats on the P2 finisher. For God's sake, man, get well.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully we can get a bit better, because it's probably the worst I've been, I'd say, for the race. It was kind of hard, this one. Really hard, but it's alright.
I can hear it. Gee whiz, man.
Not good at all, but alright. Next week, let's go.
Yep. But we'll move on to our race winner, 40, as I said, when you joined Redemption after what happened at Singapore. You must be pretty wrapped with this result after the drive you had.
Yeah, I mean, I felt pretty in control for most of that race, and as we've been saying, Japan's a tough track to overtake on, so I guess once I got out of turn 1 there, I was pretty happy. I knew I had most of the job done. It was just, don't be dumb, don't get a penalty, I think. Learning from mistakes, yeah.
Yep. But now you put the thing on pole position, not by much, but you got it there. Wrap with that as well?
Yeah, it was a very close quality. The top 3 being separated by 300s, I think, there. So it's yeah, Lee, as Zach was saying, Lee's got the pace. He's just in a bit of a tough run of form right now. But yeah, for my quality, I guess I didn't get the bank laps I wanted in, and it came down to my final run. I lost about half a tenth through the hairpin in sector 2, half a tenth to a tenth.
Yep.
And so I guess it kind of just opened up like full send into spoon, which I did, and I gained like 2 tenths out of spoon. So that's pretty much what got me pole there. I'd say even making that mistake kind of helped my confidence a little bit in a sense, because I just absolutely flung the thing in, and it worked really well. So yeah, it wasn't by a lot, but yeah, it's enough.
As Crichton mentioned before, you had a ripping start. You must have been happy with that too.
Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe he got a bad start initially, but after watching like replays back compared to the rest of the field, I've just absolutely aced it for once there. So yeah, as I was saying, getting down into turn 1 was the best possible thing for the start of my race, and yeah, not even having to go side by side or battle through there. It was just normal racing line, which was good.
But we mentioned with Crichton, those early couple of laps was just about conserving what you had early in the race. Was that a similar story with you in those early few laps?
Yeah, I did want to try to pull away from the rest of the field as well.
Naturally.
In saying that.
Yeah.
So I was probably pushing. I wasn't maybe conserving as much as he was able to in the DRS. And I was using a bit of my battery. I think I got it down to like 20 or 30% at one stage, but thankfully it saves up really well here. So I knew that I kind of could afford to, use it a little bit, pull away, and then save up a bit again in case Zach decided to go for a move at some stage.
Yeah, he had one moment where he charged at you, which I think we did get at some point in the stream. But,
yeah, into turn 1.
Yeah, you managed to hang on though to the lead, kept it. You saw Zach do the undercut. Were you a bit nervous about the undercut, or were you confident you could cover it off?
I knew tyres were pretty similar around here, and I knew that having cold tyres through Sector 1, he was probably going to come out behind me. It was just the fact that I had to then defend the next lap on.
Yeah. And
again, I saved up enough battery for that when he did pit. I think I had like 60% battery to burn on my in-lap, so I had a really good in-lap, and it put me about 1.5 seconds out in front by the time I was up to full speed, I think. So yeah, that was probably the next, most nervy part of my race, just making sure that I didn't make any mistakes around that pit stop period. But after that, it was we had fresher tyres after that, and as Zach was saying, his setup really burned his tyres, and I think my setup did complete opposite to that. It managed them really well, but it was also really fast, so I was really happy with what I came up with.
Yeah, perfect setup for you then.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I cannot complain with it one bit. No, it was awesome.
Well done making the setup then. Did well.
Yeah, I tried a couple of times trial ones, and it just wasn't to my liking. It was either a bit too understeery in Sector 1 or a bit too slow in straights in Sector 2 and 3. But yeah, this one was just, it felt like it was on rails in 1, and yeah, still definitely had enough pace in Sector 3. I think I was still pulling away from Zach on the straights, so it was good.
I can say with confidence, though, your setups are pretty good. I know that because I snatch them every time we go to a race.
Time trial. Not all my time trial ones are my race setups. So
some of them are still really good, though, that I found. Some of them need a bit of tweaking, obviously, from time trial, but even so,
yeah,
they're good.
They
I like
using them.
Yours and Isaac Kush, those are the two I tend to use. They are quite good.
Good to hear. The Sabre ones, Zach's always loose, I know that, and
I don't do TT anyway, so they're not on there for lanes.
I remember for F1 2019, I can't drive a Zach setup even if my life depended on it.
That was my loose car stage, I think 2019 that was.
Yeah, drove this thing like a go-kart.
Yeah, no one liked it at all. No one liked those setups.
You, Captain Magician, just found pace everywhere. So.
Yeah, those games are good.
Yeah, well, better than this stuff anyway. But but no, you put together a really fine display, and then that final stint when you were slowly building up the margin, you knew you had it, didn't you?
Yeah, the gap got to I think 8/10 on one lap, and I think the whole back straight just burnt some ARS. Got it to like 1.2 by the time we got to the Casio Triangle, I think it is. So.
Yeah.
And then I got fast lap that lap. I set fast lap again the next one, and I think I got 3 in a row. So like,
how much battery did you have?
I was sitting about 80%.
Yeah, so that's why I could never compete with that.
So yeah, mate. By the time I got those 3 laps, and I saw the gap got to 2 seconds, I was pretty happy. It was just yeah, like that was it. I'd done what I needed to. It was just get across the line.
Yep. No, you did really well. A near perfect drive from you today at Suzuka. Really well done. Marco, cheers. Have you got anything to ask Mr. Ford?
Well, mate, what a race. Like, fully in control from lap 1. Really good start. And really well done. So, you are now 13 points behind Crichton in this moment. What do you think? I think you can, like, kind of overtake him in the championship in short term, or are you playing a long game?
We're definitely getting there. I feel like I've been chasing all season, which I haven't, to be fair, but yeah, I feel like my pace has been there, but it's just not reflective of the championship standings right now. And also, like, this result's a massive boost for my confidence as well. I feel like I've just come out my little run of form as well with a P4 at Spain, and last week obviously getting that penalty is tough, but yeah, I think today was a big turnaround, and if we can carry that into the next few weeks, yeah, hopefully we can get in front, make Zach chase for once, hopefully.
But
nice.
Next week, Ford, we're heading over to Silverstone, and it's a sprint round, and the last time we had a sprint round, you dominated the thing.
It went pretty well, yeah. Yeah.
What about Silverstone?
Not expecting Silverstone to go that easy. I know Zach likes it a lot. Yeah, we've had some close races there as well, obviously, as you said. So, yeah, I guess there is the opportunity for more points as well, but I think it's important not to get greedy as well, because yeah, as Zach said with his P2 tonight, those results kind of just get you championships. So might be something I have to keep in mind as well. But yeah, it would definitely be interesting. A lot of laps around there, and it's a pretty tough place to race in general. So yeah, be good.
I agree. But no, it was you, Zach, and X Revolution, or
another McLaren.
Yeah, 3 wide across the line on the last lap in season 2, I think it was. Yeah, I remember it well because it was the only Tier 1 race I did. I did Tier 2 at the time. But no, I came in for that, and yeah, I remember that. Absolutely bonkers finish. So, no, Silverstone, it's always a good racetrack, and it's a sprint round, so it's going to be nice and entertaining next week. But for now, congratulations on winning the Japanese Grand Prix. A fine performance from you tonight, mate. Well done.
Cheers, Sveg. Thanks, Alex, as well. Thanks, boys.
Zach, for goodness sake, get well. I mean that.
Cheers, mate.
Gee whiz, man. It does not sound healthy at all.
Nah, it's not good, trust me. I'm sitting in pain right now. My bloody head's on fire.
Oh, for goodness sake.
I was coughing.
Well, congrats finishing on the podium, like, far out. But,
yeah. Hopefully this new batch of, I guess, antibiotics I got. It's the main thing.
Yeah. Holy shit, it's been long. It's a long time, so...
Yeah, 7 weeks.
Marco, everything's done now. Not a bad race, I'd say, at Suzuka.
No.
For Suzuka
Not bad
standards,
at all.
anyway. So, but I'd just like to thank you again for your services in the commentary booth. It's dearly appreciated that you're here alongside me. And, I think, folks...
Always a pleasure to be here, mate.
I think, chat, with the race finally over, it's time for us to end the stream. I've been LaneEveringham. My co-commentator, as always, is GeForce Fado. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for round 8 of the championship at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for the British Grand Prix. Until then, it's goodbye.